Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. In this episode, we're headed across to Western Australia to review the 2024 Kayak Round Two with the Western Australian Tournament Anglers. This is a great little round. It was held back on the Blackwood River, Augusta, back in May 18 and 19. There was a lot on that weekend around the country. In any case, I think you're going to enjoy this one. Let's roll the intros and we'll get straight into it. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target bream on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite bream competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here is your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right. So there's a lot going on this time of year. I'm keen to see who is going to win the East Coast Bream Series on Botany Bay, which would have been run and done just a couple of days ago. So I want to see who won that, as there is an action fishing tournaments event here on the first day of the long weekend, which is Saturday the 2nd, I think. I could have that wrong, but definitely the first day of the long weekend. For all the people headed up to the Hobie Comp this weekend, if you need anything from fishing.com.au, get your orders in today or tomorrow at the latest, because come Thursday night, I am on my bike. I'm on the way. I'm taking Bevan the Bream up on the back of the car, and we're going to go have a crack at Foster and see if we can catch some fish. Speaking of Bevan the Bream, the tournament shirts have been ordered. I'm expecting them. I don't know when I'm expecting them. Yeah, I'm not quite sure when they're going to arrive, but I'll be sure to let you know. And as soon as they do, we'll start to make some arrangements to get those out there and in people's hands. What else has been going on? I've been doing a little bit of fishing, which is nice. Got my first fish on the little muss. It's only a little fella, but in any case, I did get a fish on it, so that was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to a couple of things. I'm really looking forward to Foster. I can't wait to get up there and try and catch some fish. It's one of my favourite systems. I'm looking forward to the AFT on the Georges River. Nothing better than fishing your own waterway, although I think it could be tough for some. We'll see how it goes. Woolooware Bay's been a little bit tough, but I think there still could be a couple of good fish in there. All right, and as I've been talking about, I think it's probably been going on for nearly 12 months now, there will be some changes to the Bream Fishing Project. We need to evolve a little bit. In any case, the Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to get an announcement on that. And hopefully that's something that you guys enjoy and we can all get involved. I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. I did allude last week to any people that are keen on not getting their feet wet. Got a product. I've got it in my hot little hands. Can't quite tell you about it, but if you want to keep your feet dry, I've got something new and exciting for you, hopefully the next week or so as well. All right, I reckon that's about enough. I reckon let's get into the stats and what have you for the competition. So like I said in the intro, this round was held on May 18 and 19 in the Blackwood River. Let's go through the bite periods and what have you. So you had 39 in the fish activity wheel with a major bite period at 7 a.m. exactly through to 9:30. I don't think that's ever lined up sort of on half hours before. We had a minor bite period at 1:49 p.m. through to 3:19 p.m. with a high tide at 9:31 at 0.92. On the Sunday, we backed it up with 48 in the fish activity wheel with a major bite period at 7:38 through to 10:08. High tide was at 8:58 at 0.97, running down to a low in the afternoon at 4:18 p.m. at 0.68. All right. Let's get into the action. Here we go. All right. So coming up first in third place, we have a guy that is so regular on this show, he's almost a host, dropping 3 fish for 1.47 kilos, backing it up with another 3 fish with a massive bag of 1.98, giving him 6 fish for 3.450 kilos. And third place, I have Joseph Gardner. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks. It feels like only just the other day we were actually talking to each other in person.
That's exactly right. It was just the other day, mate, up on the Gold Coast, which was nice and sunny and warm.
It was, yeah, definitely beautiful, beautiful conditions.
It was. We've been supremely lucky with the Hobie events lately in the last few years, where every year the weather's been almost perfect. So how good is that?
It's great.
And coming from Western Australia, what's the temperature difference? Is it similar? Is it different?
It's pretty similar. We haven't really had much of a winter yet, so it's actually been probably quite similar to the Goldie.
Fair enough. All right, mate, you've had a couple of things going on the Blackwood lately. So we spoke before and leading into it, you didn't get to have a pre-fish excluding the boat round a little bit earlier. Tell us what you had, what was in your mind leading into day one as to what you might fish and target.
Yeah, so I didn't get down for the pre-fish, but we had a boat comp there a couple months before, and that sort of ruled out a few spots for me, which did really well last year, which I would have spoken about in a couple podcasts, which were some reed line banks and some sort of channel areas. They were pretty much barren in that boat comp. So I wanted to sort of leave that alone and focus on sort of other areas. I pretty much rigged up my standard Blackwood set of lures, which is just a brim prawn, a grub, and a pygmy mussel for this one.
Okay. So pretty basic for you after all the conversation we've had. It's pretty much the same stuff on repeat, just done very well.
Yeah. Keep it simple, do it well.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So day one, tell us about how your day was.
Yeah, so I headed over to North Bay. I was pretty much the only kayak that went over that way. There was another one that went more towards West Bay. So I did a little cut through the back of Dick Island, which you can really only do in a kayak. It's a bit reefy to do in the boat, so it's generally pretty good to cut through in a kayak. On the way over there, I noticed that there was a few fish around, but I didn't really have a cast because I wanted to get straight over there and thought I could probably leave it for day two. But got over there, started fishing along the reed edges with the pygmy mussel, picked up a bag pretty quick, and then switched over to the brim prawn. And there's a little jetty over there, which I lost two big fish pretty much one after the other, which would have made the difference.
Right. Okay. So the pygmy mussel was the one that did the damage for you early on?
Yeah. And that pretty much got most of the fish throughout the day. But really it was the brim prawn would have been made the difference on that day one if I'd landed them.
Right. Exactly what sort of structure were you fishing?
So that was just on flats, which was pretty interesting. They were sort of just scattered all along a sand flat. The tide wasn't up high enough to fish sort of the reed edges like I've done before. It was sort of a little bit lower, so I was fishing probably about 10 metres out from the bank.
Okay.
And just real slow retrieve with the mussel.
Okay. All right. And then after that, you said you switched up to the aqua?
Yep. So brim prawn, just fishing structure pretty much on my way back through. So there's a couple jetties in old fence posts, so I lost a couple fish there, which day two is really same spot made the difference. And then on the way back, I just picked up fish all through the tea trees on the way back. Pretty standard Blackwood fish, really.
Okay. And tell me about the ones you lost, the ones that would have made the difference.
Yeah, so they got all the way to the net. I had one actually in the net and the lure popped out and then it jumped out, which I'm sure Dave's been doing a lot of film work over for us for the WATA events, and he's got some of that footage. So I'm hoping he can put that up sometime because you can watch the fish jump straight out of the net, which is, always a pain.
Okay. Let's just have a look at the weights. Okay, so you needed 100 grams to jump up into second. So I'm assuming that would have been a go, or maybe 150 grams or 130 grams are up into first place. Yeah,
it would have been well over that. The one fish alone would have been probably a 300 odd gram upgrade.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's
you can't win them all, but you can always try. I was pretty happy. 1.47 to be in third after day one was still actually not too bad. Blackwood hasn't been fishing as good as it has last year at all. This year it's been real tough with the average bag weights have been right down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's I was thinking a lot of people lose fish at the boat. Not many of them have them in the net.
Yeah. Yep. Rub it in a little bit more.
Fair enough. All right, mate. So in third place overnight, tell us about how day two played out for you.
Yeah, I changed up. The only thing I changed up was what plastic I wanted to throw. So I didn't really throw a plastic on the first day, even though I had one rigged up. But I switched over to a sprat, so Hurricane Sprat in the gun colour. And that flat that I went across on day one, that same flat, I pulled up a little bit early and decided to fish it before I went over into North Bay this time. It was basically a fisher cast for the first 2.5 hours there, which I picked up probably about the similar sort of bag to what I had day one, so about 1.5 kilos, and then headed back over to the jetty where I lost the fish the day before.
Right. So that's a great start to the day. Like you're having a good day if you're getting a fisher cast.
Yeah. That was more like what the Blackwood should be.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting. They're in a different, well, at least that weekend they were in a completely different spot to where they were the same time last year. Completely different part of the system.
Yeah. Okay, and tell me about the Sprat. How do you have that rigged up and how are you working it to get these fish?
Yeah, so on the new Bait Junkie jig heads, so the Daiwa jig heads, on a 1/30th size one, and pretty much just cast as far as you can, skip it back across the surface, and then just let it sit until it gets hit, pretty much. Doesn't get hit, then you just do a few short, sharp hops.
Yeah, okay, and that's it. So pretty simple.
There was quite a few prawns and stuff jumping around as well, so I figure that's probably why they were hitting it. We actually just had the ABT comp recently as well, which my non-boater on the second day, Samet, he was fishing a Sprat pretty similar on that day as well.
Yeah, okay. Very good, very good. All right, and then on the way back, you went back through the tea trees and the jetties, I think you said. Is that right?
Yeah, so then back over to North Bay, and that's where I picked up a late upgrade. Not on the jetty this time, just nearby on one of the reed edges. But yeah, same thing, brim prawn, and just came straight into the net.
Right.
This time and stayed there.
Yeah, I was going to say, after you're losing that good fish out of the net, how was your netting for the rest of the comp?
Oh, pretty good. It doesn't happen too often. I think that was just a really unlucky one.
Oh, exactly. Another day the lure wouldn't have come out and you might have landed it. You might have had another crack at it. So
yeah, well, usually when the lure pops out and they're in the net, it's already done and dusted, but not quite.
Yeah, there's a legend fish.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, so mate, you end up with a cracking bag of 1.98, which was the biggest for the 2 days. Ended up in third place. In terms of the fishing, was there anything else that we didn't cover?
Not really. I just think it's changed a lot, that system, over the last year, just in the amount of fish that are around and what size they are. And I can't really put my finger on what it is, but there isn't a lot of weed like there usually is down the front of the system. So it almost feels like there isn't the same amount of like smaller prawns and stuff for the brim to filter feed off.
Sure.
So I have a feeling that that's sort of halting their sort of what they're eating and their growth a little bit, which has affected sort of, I guess, the whole size class down there.
Yeah.
And they're probably eating more bait fish than anything, which takes a lot more energy as well. I mean, brim are typically quite lazy, so they don't like chasing bait fish if they don't have to.
Sure.
And at the moment, that's pretty much all that they can eat down the front, besides the bigger prawns jumping around. There isn't a lot of weeds. So that's the only thing different that I can see from last year to this year that might be affecting the fish.
Right. And over the 2 days, did you throw any surface at all?
Not that time of year. I know you definitely can get them. I know Dowley had an awesome session on the Blackwood at the recent ABT on day one, throwing surface. This time of year for surface is pretty unique to get them.
Okay. Yeah, cool. All right, mate. I reckon that's a pretty good rundown. So you end up in third place, and I think this was another Hobie qualifier. Is that correct?
It was, yep.
Yeah, very good. So you qualified, I would say again. You have to correct me. Was that your first qualification, or were you already qualified for the AC?
No, I already did in Tassie, so that one came after. But very handy points.
Exactly. Hence the recent trip to Gold Coast.
That's it. I think it's down to, there's only 6 people that can win AOI at the moment.
Okay.
With the remaining 2 rounds.
And what have we got left? We've got Foster and
the rescheduled CUDA round. Yeah, so are we going to see you? I think I'll come do Foster and see how it goes. There's a few ways that AOI table can still go, which is keen to see what happens.
Yeah, fair enough. I assume you're right up the table, so this is going to give you a real crack at the Worlds.
Hopefully I can reproduce what the legendary Jack Gammy has just done.
Fair enough. I would like to see that. It'll be interesting to see where the Worlds are next time.
Yeah, keen to see. It's an awesome series anyway. I mean, Worlds or AOI aside, just to get out and fish some different systems. I've had a ball this year doing some miles and travel.
Yeah, it's definitely cool to get around the country and have a look. But, mate, what are you going to do if the Worlds is on the Blackwood, mate?
Probably go down and fish North Bay.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, mate. For third place, do you remember what you got to take away? It's a little while back.
Oh, it is a little while back. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay, that's right. All right, well then we'll leave that there. What about, who would you like to give a shout out to before we head off?
Yeah, I think Chris from Hobie, I mean, he didn't come down to that comp, but the week before he came down and did a talk night at Getaway Outdoors, which is the Hobie dealer down here. So he came out to the Kelmscott store, gave a bit of a talk, which was good to see. And he pushed me along. So I do actually have a Lynx on order now.
Ah, very good, mate. They're an awesome little kayak for fishing out, especially small creeks and easy access sort of stuff.
That's it. And pontoons at the Goldie, it was awesome to fish out of there as well.
Yeah. They're a great little kayak in terms of their turning circles, and they take off quickly, like a few pedals and you get going pretty quick. So
yeah, much better than the mothership PA.
Yeah, exactly. All right, mate, that is brilliant. Mate, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks again for coming on. And, mate, I'm sure we're going to talk to you very, very soon.
Easy. Thanks, Deethy.
Thanks, mate. Okay, fishing.com.au, your one-stop brim lure and tackle shop. Pick up the latest tackle, including Muscle Vibes Cranker Grabs, OSP Bent Minnows, Z-Man Plastics, Eco Gear Lures, and Daiwa Rods, Reels, and Tackle. Same-day shipping. Shop where the world champion, the Australian champion, and the current ABT champion shops. Fishing.com.au, online or in-store at shop 18/29 Kiora Road, Miranda. Now, like I said in the start of the episode, if you are going to Foster and you want me to run some lures up to you, then get on to Adam, get it sorted out, and I will bring them up. I'm staying in the caravan park, so it shouldn't be hard to find, but you'll need to do that soon. Don't delay. Get in touch with Adam and arrange that. All right, I jumped on the specials part of his page, and there's a few things that caught my eye. Coming into the warm months, there's going to be some surface bites. So if you can get a couple of cheaper lures, then it's going to be quite good. So they've got the Zip Baits Fakey Dog a CB50 at $16. The Zip Baits Fakey Dog DS at $17. Also, if you're headed to Foster and you want to crank the racks and use a bit cheaper lures that still work really well, the Pimp My Lure Finesse Deep Crank 38mm is $10 a go, or $9.99. So if you're going to throw those in the racks, you may as well start there. Equally, the little Strike Pro Baby Archback, I used to use those back in the day. They're a cool little lure, and $11. You can throw them right in the middle of the racks as well, and then see if you can get them out. All right, I reckon that's enough. Like I said, if you need something, get in touch with Adam, and I'll see you all at Foster. Okay, so next up in a second place, I have an angler dropping 1.7 kilos for his 3 fish on the Saturday, backing it up on Sunday with a better bag of 1.85, giving him 6 fish for 3.55 kilos. And second place, I've got Alex Griesdorff. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Hey, mate. How you going?
I'm going really well. Mate, this was a very, very close competition.
Yeah, the Blackwood tends to do that, mate. It's a lot of the same size fish, so there's not a lot of difference in a lot of the fish. So it tends to be pretty even bagged. If you do get a big one, you kind of can jump up the leaderboard, or you can take away, you can have a big lead, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the top 3 were 3.45, 3.55, 3.57. Not very much between the top 3 places.
No, not at all on that one, that's for sure.
Fair enough. All right. So, mate, did you get a chance to have a pre-fish before this event?
No, not really for the Blackwood on that one. I fish the Blackwood quite often, so I didn't really bother with a pre-fish for it. Probably fished it about a month before that. Was probably the closest I'd been down there, just it's a bit of a social fish. But yeah, no, didn't do the pre-fish that.
Okay. All right. So then leading into the Saturday, what was sort of in your head as a game plan? What were you planning on doing?
To be honest, I had a kind of game plan that I was going to go fish the flats down the bottom of the river for the day. And then wind forecast was 0 and sunny conditions. It kind of put me off doing that. So I just thought, oh, no, I'll go fish up the river and just work my way around and hopefully come across some fish and see what happens, which is pretty much what I did. I got fish throughout the day on day one, but probably not until the wind came up also. It was pretty tough until the wind came up. And then once the wind came up, I sort of started catching more fish, just slowly upgrading what I had. But yeah, day one was just a really slow bite fishing, but it was kind of slow for everybody. Most of the guys I spoke to didn't have a lot of fish early. Sort of everybody that I did speak to caught fish during the day, sort of later in the day. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't really that great a day fishing for me, to be honest. I only probably caught about a dozen fish, legals wise.
Yeah, right.
I was just lucky enough that I had a few bites of the bigger size ones, I guess, was the key, to be honest. And then, yeah, it was kind of heartbreaking a bit on day one, losing a really good fish next to my kayak.
Really?
Which was frustrating. Yeah, lost one about 800-900 grams right next to the kayak.
Ouch.
Which would have really helped me. But
absolutely,
I wasn't expecting to come in leading with 1.76 kilos on day one. Certainly wasn't expecting that. I thought I'd be more middle of the pack, 5 to 10 sort of caliber range. But the Blackwood's a funny place sometimes.
It is. And it was a decent turnout of, I think, you had 29 or 30 anglers. What were the fish clued into? Were you getting them on plastics or on mussels, or what were you using?
Sort of caught them a little bit on everything that day. I caught a few fish on soft plastics, on grubs. I caught fish on slim sims, and I caught fish on crabs, mussels as well. There was nothing really that stood out. There was sort of, I kind of catch a few fish on this or a few fish on that. There was no real lure that stood out for me, to be honest. Kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So it was just very hard. When it's still and sunny, it's very hard to fish that river when the water's cold. So that time of year, we're leading into winter. The water temperature tends to be dropping, and yeah, it's usually quite cold at night. So they kind of go a bit funny, unless you get the cloud and the wind come up, and then they decide, oh yeah, we want to feed. So
yeah, and were you sort of targeting the top part of the water column or the middle of the river, or how'd that look for you?
No, that weekend I sort of caught a lot of my fish relatively shallow, to be honest, up the river, but in the shallow stuff. They were sort of all less than 2 meters. I think all the fish I caught. There wouldn't have been any more than 2 meters.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I thought with the colder weather, I thought you might have found them right in the middle in the deeper areas.
Yeah, they don't. That system, they really don't tend to go real deep until winter. Like, you don't catch a lot of fish in 4, 5, 6 meters of water there. They tend to sit on the sand drop. They sit on the drop-offs. So different banks have different sort of drop-offs. Some are real deep, rocky stuff, and other ones are sort of a taper down and then a sand drop-off. So
yeah,
just kind of depends on where they're sitting. But for the most part, they don't usually go too deep in that place.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. All right. In any case, look, you end up with 1.7, which was enough to put you in first place overnight. Tell us about Sunday. How'd Sunday play out for you?
Oh, Sunday was pretty crap, to be honest.
Right, that's nice.
I didn't have a fish until about 11 o'clock.
Wow.
And I got my first fish, which was a big bream of the comp, which was 950 grams or whatever it was, 980 or something like that.
Yeah, wow.
I take that back. That was the first fish I landed. I'd broken 2 fish off earlier than that. One I pulled the hooks on and one I broke off. So I stopped at a spot first thing in the morning and threw up on there, and first cast hooked up and got busted off into a tree, which again was a solid fish, but it was, I don't know exactly how big it is, but would have been a good fish. Definitely better than most of the ones I weighed in over the weekend, that weekend. But lost that one. And then, yeah, it was about 11:15 and I had nothing still. I didn't have a legal. And I hooked a really good one, fought it for about a minute, and then pulled the hooks on it right near the kayak. And that would have been, again, a high 800-900 gram fish, that one. And then literally I retied. Second cast after that, I got that big one, which I was pretty happy with, being my first fish in my live well. But was a little bit annoyed with how the morning had gone by. And to be fair, the rest of the afternoon, I caught my bag, but I just couldn't find any better fish. I got probably a 2 centimeter upgrade within about 10 minutes to go before I had to be back at the ramp. So I wish I had a little bit more time, because the wind had come up and I started catching fish in the last sort of hour. So it's a shame I didn't have a little bit more time, but that's fishing. I mean, I improved on my bag. I would have loved to have an extra 30, 40 grams in my bag. Would have been nice, but
yeah,
that's
would have been nice.
That's the difference between winning and losing sometimes.
It is. And did you notice any difference between, apart from, I guess, day 2, you didn't get them till later, but was there much difference between the 2 days in terms of what they were eating?
No, day 2, pretty much caught all my fish on a slim sim on day 2. I was throwing the blood oil colour, which was weird because they were seeming to eat the blood oil colour in the real clear conditions. They were more cued into that than on day 1. which kind of annoys me because I wish I'd have thrown that on day one more and maybe I'd have caught more fish. But
yeah, that's it. That's it. Or just one more fish.
That's fishing. Yeah, but pretty much that was it. I didn't catch a lot of fish the whole weekend. I reckon, shit, if I would have caught 10 legals on the Saturday, I reckon I caught maybe 5 or 6 on the Sunday. So I didn't catch a lot of fish at all. I just was, I mean, I was lucky and got one big one. I was in the areas to get the bigger bite, but I didn't land them. I got 2 or 3 other ones to bite and then just didn't hook them. At the end of the day, it was probably a good pre-fish for me for the ABT 3 weeks later. So can't complain that much.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. And second place, did that qualify you for the Hobie Grand Final?
No, I qualified on round 1. I took out the first round of the year. So I was lucky enough. I punched my ticket already before that one.
Very good. And yeah, and you ended up with you said a 2 centimetre upgrade late in the day, which probably might have been enough to jump you over or keep you ahead of Joseph, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd say that one got me ahead of Joey, but it wasn't enough to get me the win, unfortunately. But it's always good to beat Joey. He's had one up on me down there for a while, so I've managed to take him out 2 events in a row down there now, 3 events in a row this year, so I'm not complaining about that.
There you go. No, not at all. Not at all. And mate, for the weekend, did you just pretty much run, I think you said 4 pound leader, is that about right?
Yeah, I went pretty light that weekend. I was fishing 4 and 3 pound leaders pretty much all weekend just because of the conditions. I don't know if that cost me losing a couple of fish. It probably did in hindsight, but would I have got those bites with 5 and 6 pound leader? I don't know. It was really the water conditions was, I mean, it was very fish tank clear water. So you could see 2 meters down in the water pretty easily. And, the sun was high and there was no wind. So it wasn't really the ideal conditions to be fishing, in a clear water area.
Yeah. All right, mate. I reckon that covers it pretty well. For second place, do you remember what you got to take home?
I'm pretty sure there was a prize pack thanks to Shimano and some cash as well, from memory.
Yep, $300.
And then the big brim was a samurai rod from Frogby's Offshore Samurai.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah, the big brim prizes are pretty good this year.
Yeah, no, we're pretty lucky. We got some nice rods thanks to Samurai for the big brim, so it's good.
Yeah, very good. Very good. All right, mate. So listen, one more thing before we head off. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Oh, just the usual sponsors for me. Big thanks to the guys at Lawrence for looking after me with electronics and that wise. And then the boys at TT, I mean, I probably throw TT stuff more than anybody around. I'm a creature of habit. Slim Slims and grubs and streaks, they're 3 of my favourite things to throw year round. So I tend to do a lot of that, just those guys really. And to be fair, all the sponsors of the WATA series and the Hobie series, big shout out to everybody who gets involved and helps us out with sponsorships.
Very good, mate. Very good. All right. That's fantastic, mate. Congratulations on that. And, mate, I'm sure I'll get a chance to talk to you before the end of the year's out.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. Hopefully we've got a few events coming up now. So hopefully, and I'll probably see you over at the Hobie Grand Final as well.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, mate. Have a good afternoon. I'll talk to you soon.
No worries, buddy. Catch you later.
All right. If you're in the market for a new fishing kayak or looking to make some upgrades to your existing kayak or possibly looking at fishing kayak fishing tournaments, then HWS is the place to go. They have a full range of Hobie kayaks and stock the latest kayak accessories and are really dialed in when it comes to the best kayak fishing setup for the casual fisher and the tournament angler. hws.com.au, online or in-store at Shop 3/638 Pacific Highway, Belmont. Now, James offers free delivery on Hobie kayaks across all Greater Sydney, Central Coast and Hunter. All right. So listen, anyone that's headed up to Foster, once again, I'm sure James will have someone running up there. So if you need something, you need a new cart or you need some Lovick stuff or you need whatever, get in touch with James. I'm sure someone will be delivering. You can get it straight up to the competition and we'll see you at Foster. In other news, I've been doing a little bit of practice on the water, fishing a lot of structure, and I've got the current model Pro Angler 12 360 XR. Now, this is a great kayak, but for structure fishing, there's a little bit of wind on me today, a little bit of current, and being able to turn that kayak on a dime, I think I don't think you can get a better kayak for fishing that sort of stuff. So look, if structure fishing's your thing, whether it's freshwater, saltwater or whatever, I don't think you can go far past these. Anyway, get in touch with James, see what he's got there and enjoy. Okay, so up next in first place, dropping 3 fish for 1.66 kilos on day one, backing it up with a bigger bag on day two of 1.91 kilos, giving him a total of 3.57 kilos and first place for his first kayak win. I have Travis Newland. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Andrew, how are you? Good to be back.
Mate, it's good to see you here. Like we were just saying, first kayak round win. How good's that?
Yeah, stoked to finally get a win, especially down in the Blackwood.
Yep, down the Blackwood in a Hobie round, mate.
Yep, Hobie qualifier round.
Yep. So you're coming to Camden Haven, I take it?
Oh, 100%, yeah. I'm pretty much on the drive home, already was researching and looking at your previous podcast about it too.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, there's a little bit there that should help you. So hopefully that gets you some useful information.
Yeah.
Very good, mate. Well, we've had a few chats, and most recently was probably what we could consider your pre-fish was your win about a month earlier.
Yep, yeah, the boat con back in March.
Yeah. All right, so tell us, given you guys took that out by a good margin, how much did that set you up for the kayaks?
I mean, leading into it, I heard how people's pre-fishes kind of went, but considering we took out the boat comp, I wasn't going to change much. Obviously, kayaks is a bit harder because you're kind of restricted to setting 1 or 2 plans and sticking by that. But during the boat comp, we didn't necessarily travel too far, so I was pretty confident I can kind of cover the same ground in the kayak.
Yeah.
So I pretty much went out there day one kind of replicating what I did in the boat comp, and yeah, obviously it kind of paid off in the end.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's roll into day one. So tell us about how your day went and maybe how your first fish went.
I think day one, I kind of like an area where I start, so it's probably only about a K or 2 upriver, and there's a section on the right. So it's like a nice gradient flat, which is kind of has a kind of deeper side and then slowly works up to a flat. And like generally you can kind of get an idea of where the fish are sitting during the day. I think from memory it started off pretty slow because I think it was freezing. I think it was quite cold that morning and a bit of fog, and there wasn't much wind either. The wind didn't pick up until later in that day. So I think the initial start was quite slow. I think the first fish may have only been like a 29 tipper.
Okay.
And I think from memory, it was quite a time between like filling the bag, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. What were you throwing it straight up?
So the starting lures were, as usual, a Razor Edge Bruce on a 1/12, and then like a Slim Swim with also a baby vibe, River to Sea baby vibe, the black and gold.
Black and gold.
Another local lure made by the same Razor Edge as like a Fat Boy Swim, but it's just like it's similar to a Slim Swim, just a slightly different profile.
Okay.
I don't take generally more than 4 out in a kayak.
Okay. 4 different types of lures or?
4 setups.
Right, okay. All right. And what sort of, just with the structure, so were you fishing tight into the edge or fishing drop-offs, or how'd that look?
So given the conditions and with how gnarly some of the structures are, I generally like to fish off the bank purely because if you do hook back good fish, 9 times out of 10 he'll run you straight back into the tea trees. So generally I like fishing about 5-10 metres off the bank and then a little bit away from the structure that I know I'm generally pretty safe. So a lot of the ground I am fishing is kind of just broken sand and with slight rock. All
right. So you only got a few fish for the day. What does sort of bag consist of?
I think about midday, by midday I pretty much had my bag on day one, and I think it pretty much considered it like a 35 and a 36. I think maybe another 35. It's a pretty close average because you divide the bag weights, and it was all about 500-600 grammars. I can't remember where I was leading on day one, but I just didn't really have that kicker fish to kind of put me above as such.
That's right. You had 1.66.
1.6, yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like you're in second overnight.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you drop any fish on the way through?
Not really, no. I think due to the conditions, I think it just didn't really fire as such. So the initial bag that I had was kind of the bag that I stayed with most of the day.
Okay.
You know, I zigzagged through my spots upriver through the area and persisted with the Bruce and, you know, tried to fish really slow. But from memory, I think the day one upriver got a little bit more pressure, so I think that may have shut the bigger ones down a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. In any case, Alex had you by 40 grams overnight, so he had 1.7.
Yeah.
And Joseph looks like he might have been next up with 1.4.
Yeah.
All right.
Alex was on the higher end of the river and Joey would have been down the lower, and I reckon I was probably smack bang in the middle.
Right. How good's that? 3 different things.
Yeah.
How did day 2 go? So you went out and same deal, starting with the first fish.
Yeah, I mean, day 2 was pretty tough, as it always is. I mean, sitting, was that third, you said?
Second, I think.
Second, yeah. I mean, it's always a tough, well, I wouldn't say tough position, but going into a comp day 2, you're always questioning what you did day 1. And the fact that I didn't really lose any big fish day 1, that made me question it even more. But still going off of what we did in the boat comp, I just knew that the bigger fish would eventually show up. So day 2, kicked off, and it was actually less people day 2 heading upriver, which I was quite surprised by. And that, of course, led me to fish newer ground because obviously less pressure. And I think a memorable bit was actually I was fishing on the left side of the river on a bank that I'd usually fish. And I'd actually been watching the anglers pass me. And there was a specific bank that I don't normally target as such because it's quite deeper.
Yeah.
I actually thought, because it quietened down quite a bit, and I actually thought I'd cross and just try something different. And that's when I got my first proper bag fish for day 2. It was a 35 tip on a green pumpkin slim swim, just fishing off the bank but parallel, so working it over the logs. I think I got that on the GoPro footage too from the WATA boys, which was quite good.
Okay. If you're fishing parallel to the bank, was there much current there? Were you pushing with the current?
No. It was in a bay, so there wasn't much current, but I think it was just because of how it was probably about a 5-6 metre bank, and because of the amount of structure, there was a lot of overhangs and broken logs in the water. So I was kind of bouncing off those, and this fish, I actually did get busted off in that same area, but these fish, lucky enough, hit it and then swam out to the deep end. So
okay.
I was stoked with that day too, especially to get it on a different lure.
Yeah. Yeah. And how'd you go for being snag proof if you're running it over timber and stuff?
I mean, if you go to the Blackwood and you're not getting snagged, I think you're generally doing something wrong, especially upriver, because it's pretty gnarly out there. So that's just part of the game, I think.
Okay. All right. And moving on from there, how'd the rest of your day play out?
So I think after that, I just continued upriver, just zigzagging through my spots. I think I struggled quite a bit. And it wasn't until I actually went further up than I normally do. So I actually bumped into Alex as well. So that was interesting. He asked how each other's going. You're not really giving away too much. I knew he'd lost some big fish. I mean, he had a decent bag at that point because in the end results, we were quite neck and neck, pretty close.
Yeah.
So I bumped into him, and I found the further I went upriver, the fish got smaller. I don't know if that's just because I haven't fished it enough or it's just gut feeling. So I ended up actually heading back downriver, and by that point the wind had picked up and there was a couple of ski boats, which I think in the end kind of fired it up. And I actually pretty much upgraded 2 or 3 times by I think about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and that pretty much secured my finishing bag.
Right. And in those upgrades, was there a standout lure?
Yes, the green pumpkin Bruce, as usual.
The green.
Yeah, so that was actually on the ski beach. Then it's we nicknamed it Poo Bank last time because Josh upgraded while I was on the dunny at the same spot.
That's a beautiful thing.
But that's quite a good memory there as well, because I remember pulling back up to it, and it's one of those spots for me that not everyone fishes it, but I can generally go there, and I know if I sit there and I spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, generally a good fish is going to pop up.
Yeah, right.
And with the ski boat, I think there's 8 kids on this ski boat, and they were in and out, stirring up the water. I thought, there's got to be something here. So I persisted. I was actually positioning myself facing out towards a deeper end and casting out and back in because it's quite a slow gradient there.
Yeah.
And the fish just sit on the drop-off and cruise through. Obviously, as the water stirs up, they go through the feed.
Yeah.
And, I think what got me was I had a 29 or a 30 tipper, was my smallest fish.
Yeah.
And within the space of about half an hour, I had a 37 and a 36 upgrade.
Yeah, okay.
So that's kind of, I was stoked by the end of that. I was pretty happy with that bag. And then from that point, I kind of just cruised down because it takes probably a good half hour, 45 to cruise back to launch.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so I wanted to touch on, you said you were throwing the baby vibes. Are you sort of a 1 hook or 2 hook setup for those?
Generally, I always just run the one hook.
Okay. And you're fishing that across the bottom, like just small hops, or how's that?
Yeah, pretty much always in contact with the bottom. Pretty much the same technique I use with the Bruce. It's just always in contact with the bottom and slight lifts.
Yeah. Very cool. And look, the top of the leaderboard there was really close. So you pipped Alex by just 20 grand.
20?
20 grand.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of it. I was pretty stoked to get him, but yeah, it was pretty neck and neck.
Definitely. All right. In terms of the fishing, is there anything else that we should cover off on?
I don't think so. I think I've covered pretty much the highlights for me. I think, I was just pretty much confident in the spots I was fishing, and the thing is there is not to rush, because there's always plenty of fish to be caught. It's just knowing where those bigger ones will eventually pop up. So, with me fishing pretty slow and always in contact with the bottom, generally the bigger bites, I know that, that's a fairly decent fish. And you kind of get a sense of the area anyway after a while, because I think with the boat comp win, I think I've came third in another comp there. You generally know where the bigger ones hang out.
Yeah. And I think in the interview you did on stage, the presentation, you said day one you changed to the slim swim and slowed down.
Yes.
And that was helpful.
Yeah. So I think because of the lack of conditions, with the lack of rain and not much wind, I think that was pretty crucial to definitely get the bigger bites in the end.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. One last thing before we move off the fishing. What lines and leaders were you running for the comp?
Pretty much all weekend I was running like a 12-pound, is it the Gosen braid, the casting braid, and then just a 4-pound leader, Yamatoyo, the Harris fighter.
Yep. So just a light leader.
Yeah, I mean, for the Blackwood, you hear people going up to 8 and 10, but where I fish, I'm quite confident with 4, because I'm not fishing right on the structure, but it's still, with the tech that we've got nowadays, a 4-pound still has plenty of give in it if you know what you're doing. But yeah, no issues on 4.
100%. All right, very cool. All right, mate, for your first kayak win, what did you get to take home?
So for the weekend, it was $800 cash, and then a Shimano Tika 1 to 3 kilo, which is a nice little one. I've actually been using quite a bit since.
How good is that? That's a pretty
awesome,
pretty tidy little win there.
You got to be happy just to walk away with something.
Absolutely. You got to be happy to walk away with first place. That's
especially more tackle.
Yes, exactly. All right, mate. One last thing before we head off. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
I just want to give a shout out to the WATA boys, Western Australian Tournament Anglers organisers. We're a pretty small bunch, but they do a pretty good comp, I think. Just the organisation, and we've had a few new guys come on board this year and do a whole lot of media and videos, and they've got the drone up in the morning, and just stuff like that always helps out. So I think their work just needs to go noticed, and just a shout out to those boys. And of course the Malloy Island Hideaway Park. I mean, that venue's awesome for the venue. You pretty much roll out your swag and you walk to the boat ramp and drop your kayak in within 20 metres. So you can't beat that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. All right, mate. I want to thank you again for coming on, and mate, I'm sure I'll get to talk to you again soon. Hopefully, maybe.
No worries.
Maybe after the Hobie.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, maybe after the Hobie Grand Final, mate.
Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah, no worries. All right, thanks again, mate.
Thanks, Andrew. Cheers.
All right, so there you have it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a really closely fought competition, just like 120 grams, I think, between 1 and 3, and Travis Newland just getting over the top of Alex by 20 grams. All right, like I've said in the last couple of episodes, we're starting to see the seasons change. It's starting to get warmer. The sun's getting up a little bit earlier, going down a little bit later. We're going to get some cracking fishing soon. With the warmer weather in Sydney, I really think, although I haven't seen it yet, but I do think that we're going to get a surface bite earlier than normal this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. Definitely, if you like your bass and stuff, go and get yourself some soft shell cicadas. I reckon they are the bomb this time of year when the fish start looking upwards. Like I said last week, as we evolve into the new sort of format, I'm looking for some ideas. I want to hear what you people want to hear, what you like, what you don't like. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me on socials. It's probably the easiest way. If you've got an idea, I've had a few ideas over the sort of 18 months. Feel free to send those back through if you're still keen. All right, I think we're going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this show. Keep your eye out over the next day or so for that extra announcement, and I will talk to you next week on the Bream Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.